Alright, g'day everyone, and welcome back to X4, which begins on with a somewhat dramatic view from the Earl King, as we're finally knocking down a Kark installation that has been bothering our miners over in the sector of Hatikova's Faith for some time. Just go to external view for a moment. Watching this ship firing with all of its guns against fighter targets never does get old to me. Vacuum up a whole bunch of salvage, so what I will do is I will just take temporary control to vacuum that up while we talk about the objectives for this episode. We've got a couple of things to do as this series gets closer and closer towards what will likely be, hopefully, a fairly triumphant end. We'll see. This episode, we've got to close out the Yaki issue and Operation Offline. That means the Yaki Pirate HQ has to go after another wave of evacuations. I determined, thanks to your assistance, that one of the reasons I wasn't able to pull crew off, although there were no crew to recruit anyway, other than those I could go and recruit manually, was that there was no appropriate upgrade facility for the Earl King, so a smaller ship would be necessary. So we'll send some smaller ships in, recruit any Yaki that remain, but for the most part I think we have basically evacuated that station. It's time to smash it. Operation Offline will hopefully also progress, which means destroying the rest of the Xenon infrastructure in those two remaining sectors, building up admin stations to claim those sectors, and that'll then free up the fleet for redeployment. And once that becomes the case, I can talk about where the fleet is likely to go next. While all that is happening in the background, we've got a storyline to push. The Split are now shooting each other. That's fantastic. Tremendous victory in terms of the diplomatic interests of the Terran Protectorate and our wider organisation. Definitely doing well as a result. So now the question is, what do we do about the Paranid? So we'll be going and picking up the Paranid questline basically where it left off last time. And from there, seeing what our opportunities might be to deal with them. Because the Split are much more hostile than the Paranid. The Paranid aren't currently hostile to humanity as a whole. The Holy Order of the Pontifex is hostile to Argon, but not to the Terran Protectorate. But they're far, collectively, if you look at the two Paranid factions, collectively they're far more powerful than the two Split factions were. More industry, more resources, a lot more fleet combat power. So in terms of long-term threats and outcomes, the consequences there might be significantly higher. We'll now jump out and let Mr. Shinneman resume control of the vessel as we gun down the remainder of this Kark installation. And then while all this is happening, we got terraforming happening at Shiakaze. Good little feel-good project that sucks up a lot of resources. I love the view that this game... It's so cinematic. This game is bloody cinematic. Anyway, let's get to it. Alright, by now you're probably familiar with this approach. Set up a new station. It'll have an admin module, a dock, a pier, and some defensive modules. That'll hold this gate, which will then free up this fleet that's currently locking down the gate. Meanwhile, the Bash group of Asgards, seeing the Xenon fleet in this sector so badly depleted, has just destroyed the wharf. So what we'll then do is fly them out, probably out to this location, just to space them out a little bit, and then give them each attack orders, which should give us a nice dispersed engagement arc. We'll then destroy this Xenon shipyard. Once the shipyard's destroyed, there's no chance of the Xenon in this area getting reinforcements. And it's at that point that we can turn the Asgards against the Yaki pirate base. Now, meanwhile, the rest of the fleet's still being supported by what I'm hoping will eventually become part of the other Bash group. The O'Neill and its other ships are supporting at the moment. So we're going to get some extra Asgards churned out, and an additional carrier for what comes next. Like I said, some dramatic stuff is going to be happening. Let's just disperse those fighters over there. That's 26 selected ships. Let's have a look at what these new high-spec cutlasses look like taking off. Because this should be... Yeah, there it is. I was going to say, this should be the entire ship bay launching a full complement. There we are. Everyone being guided out of the shipyard, and then in a beautiful uniform formation, turning to take up a position next to the carrier, where we will then order them to dock. Because for what comes next, which has to do with this crime syndicate in the center of the map, and possibly the largest fleet battle I can imagine having, we're going to want as many fighters as possible. But like I said, we'll come back to that in just a moment. For now, smacking out the offlining process for the Xenon, we'll clear Savage Spur 1, claim it, neutralize the Yaki, sweep into Savage Spur 2, and then, hopefully, Operation Offline will be complete, and the ever-expanding fleet can be released for other purposes. Although, just before we jump over to the Paranid Plot, no reason not to hire just a few more Yaki. Oh, he should have been a Marine.
Hello there.
He's service crew, and yes, I am paying a signing fee of 1.4 million for this bloke. You better live up to my expectations.
Hello there.
And this guy's worth 3,600. Talk about some wage disparity.
I hope I live up to your expectations.
Same job, but 500 times higher salary or something like that. So either Aaron here is really, really bad at his job, or old mate from before has some pretty high expectations. So let's see if he's worth it. Anyway, I'm going to keep sweeping through, and then I'm going to direct the good old... What's happening in the background is the good old experimental shuttle is flying to where we need to pick up where we left off for the Paranid quest. And we'll do a quick rebrief on where we're at there, although I will check in on the split on the way. The shuttle is almost in position. I've entered all the build orders I feel I need to for the moment. The Empire is now mostly automated. Other than, really the only thing I need to manually ship resources for at this point is when I want to assist another faction in building a station. So I'm doing a lot of manual shipments to sell Computronic substrate at very long distances to all of those Terran stations that are going up in split space. What I think we're leaning towards is the fact that a lot of split space is probably going to end up being Terran, whether the split really want it or not. If only because the split, just checking in on the Civil War there, are doing a pretty good job of shooting each other up at the moment. And I imagine there is a reasonable non-zero chance that some of the sectors flip. There's also the observation I'll make that the one formerly Xenon sector in split zone has already flipped Talati, making it semi-contiguous with the Talati. They've got Howard's Twin 3, so I guess it counts. The Talati Empire sort of, or company rather, has this nice little staking formation, and it's grab matrix 451. So the Talati are now sort of the middlemen in the contest between the two split, which is, I'm sure, a profit-making opportunity from their perspective. But the Talati are in very, very good shape. So unless something strange happens with some of their neighbours, they're probably in a good position. I'm not sure if they'll need assistance cleaning the Xenon. They've got a bunch of Xenon down here. There's more sectors connected off to the south here that are full of Xenon. Not sure if the Talati in this scenario, where a lot of pressure is being taken off on other fronts, might be able to clear some of those themselves without us having to get involved. But obviously the Talati aren't a major problem for us. So let's wipe out some of these defensive modules first. There'll be a whole bunch of stuff spawning, of course, but I'm mostly concerned in wiping out any defense platforms that look like they might cause problems for the other Asgards in the formation. And it might also be worth destroying the actual shipyard module itself. But what I'm interested in is that little defense module over there. But you can tell the station's really not set up to repel firepower of this magnitude, and I have a hitherto unheard of formation of ships coming in at this point. There will be 5 Asgards bashing this station. You can already see the Paranid plasma raining from the sky, or rather above, for at least from our perception. And I am convinced. I was originally a Argon plasma man. I am convinced by the utility of Paranid plasma for station bashing in the hands of the AI, just because more range equals more safer. Looks like those XL ship bays don't take more than a full burst in order to destroy. The bit that makes me nervous is that little defense module over there, just in case one of the other Asgards gets too close to it. But for the moment, I think we're okay. Which one's
Asgard.
This? That's the Jared Stringer coming in. It's just destroyed one module, it'll then turn around and activate its XL bays. That's one of the 2 shipyard wings destroyed. Probably want, just for the safety of our positioning, to bash this core component here. Even though it's going to have a heck of a lot of health. One thing I might actually do while the gun is cooling is we might do a quick travel drive hop. Just get a little bit of distance. Oh, actually cancel that because apparently XL beam from the Carter off to starboard. Let's not fly directly in the way of another Asgard which is firing its XL main battery, which is one of the few things out there that will actually hurt us. And here are the beams doing what beams do best, which is these are little defense drones. They have very little health, but they can be annoying in large numbers. And while we will be configuring most of our Asgards not to have significant anti-fighter armaments, the Max still has its beams, which means it's not that bad at swatting these drones in significant numbers. We are down to 72% on this Xenon shipyard already. I love the power of a massed formation. So we'll just be careful, stay mostly out of range, bash this center component, then move on to those defensive modules off to starboard. But I think we're now taking drone fire. That's okay. As you can see, the flaks clean them up pretty well as well. And the other Asgards are completely capable of defending themselves. The Xenon stations have shit tons of defense drones. Absolutely, I have never seen another faction deploy them in the same numbers I've seen Xenon stations deploy them. They are only really a problem if you're in system, like controlling the ship like this. They're not going to be dangerous to a large ship unless they can consistently have a large mass around the vessel firing at it. And so the fact that our little turrets are just constantly trimming the herd, so to speak, limits the risk of us ever even losing a module. Like even losing like a turret or an engine, which is where I would normally be concerned. Beautiful. Love it.
Asgard.
Okay, that was the Jared wiping out another module. And then readdressing its main gun. We'll just rake the main gun across here. I think the Carter just wiped out the defense module that's been bothering me. Defense modules obviously being concerning because they're the ones with the long range guns. So we have the Carter and the O'Neill off to starboard, as well as the supporting boron ships that are doing their job of just standing by. Hey, terraforming!
Among them are several experts in biology and gastronomy, eager to survey the local fruits.
We have completed our current terraforming project.
Thanks, Bozo. They literally had you on the news, so yeah, I gathered. Let's destroy some more modules. And then I think it's time to actually jump above. But before we do that, while the gun's recharging, let's just have a quick look at the terraforming, because I think that means it does indeed. The arcology is complete. We have population. 200, well, we don't have population, we will have population. Right now we have 200 million people on the planet. There are some more things we need to build for the mission, but for the moment I'm looking at going in for these nice to haves. For example, the bank, the clinic. There is a clinic here, for example. If we build the clinic, we can run the supply medical supplies mission, which allows us to sell 11 million medical supplies to the planet for 1 billion credits. And then funding startups is gambling, essentially. We put in 9 million, and there's a 10% chance we get 136 million out. But in terms of like things that will immediately benefit the people, we're saving up for the wheat to go into the wheat fields, but we don't have it yet. So let's go straight into the clinic, because I imagine we'll have a lot of this on hand already. Clinic needs 1,000 advanced electronics, needs claytronics, energy cells, 102,000. That doesn't take long, that's less than an hour's production. We had a bunch stockpiled. It'll need hull parts, 5,000. Pretty sure we've got a lot of that saved already, and smart chips. Let's increase the storage for hull parts up to like 170,000. I see no reason to run short of anything any of the time ever. But I am thinking that maybe after we get this round of production going, Let me just do quick build configuration.
Production will start right away.
Still a lot to build. Once we've got advanced electronics production going, I'm considering doing 2 more ship fabrication bays, just so we can ship stuff more quickly.
Ammunition container. Xenon shipyard.
But yeah, this shipyard is has seen
SE.
better days, let's put it that way. I will probably exit stage left at this point. I think the rest of the fleet has more than enough capability to deal with what's left of this facility. But it was always good to jump on the max and make a contribution, let's put it that way.
Xenon shipyard.
We might just let rip the gun one more time before we go. There we are. Destroyed another production module. And yeah, this thing is a wreck going on being a total write-off. 28%. Alright, let's go to Paranid space. We won't fly by Shirkaza just yet, but we'll leave the rest of our Asgards to take care of it. Soon the Bash group of 5 will become 6. With the addition of a few more vessels. Oh, there's one taking fire down there. I'll just solve that quickly, and then we'll move on. Turns out I didn't actually need to intervene. By the time I jumped over to the Carter, it had already successfully moved itself out of range. The AI had slipped into turret range for a moment, but it had already backed itself out. I'm just going to bring it back round, go into reverse, and fire the main gun while we're here. Because we've never appreciated the Carter like this just yet. Yeah, the high projectile speed of the plasmas is absolutely winning me over. Let's let rip, and then go talk to our Paranid friends. Look, it's not as exciting firing the main gun on anything that isn't modded the way the Max is. But an Asgard in the end is still an Asgard. Alright, so when we left the Paranid last time, they were about to have a major meeting between our contact, Kramanx Salat, about negotiations, I believe. And we were meeting for some reason outside Apotheosis, which is a storage facility, I think, for Paranid that are in potential hibernation, or potentially have not yet been grown. Can't say I'm entirely confident in what exactly is going on, but I do know that the Paranid have all different sorts of different genetic configurations, that people are grown or hatched for a very specific purpose. And this is part of the problem, right? That you have 2 religious societies with each with a leader who's meant to be infallible.
Oh no.
Oh. Hello. It's Greed again. We met her before. She's the one who thought it was interesting to almost blow us up.
It's good to see you again, dear. I trust my Duke already gave you an introduction to his diplomatic effort.
Yes.
Well, we're about to improve that plan of his quite dramatically.
What are you getting
You
at?
see, the countless years of isolation have clouded my Duke's ambition. Even though his early attempts must have thrown the wretchedness of those unenlightened 3 years into sharp relief, even after all those sacrifices, he still refuses to rid himself of that poisonous illusion of peace.
Interesting.
Will you help me show him the truth?
Wait, so
We'll
you want
provide
me...
the flames in which my Duke will be reborn.
She's
You'll
strangely
find a
attached to this
toolbox
dude.
on the docking area. Its contents might prove useful to you.
Last time you linked me to a toolbox or goods, there were EMP mines in it. So let's see what she's got for us in the dock area, if I can find it. I'm guessing the flashy thing over here, maybe. Nope, that's just the light. Come on, what am I looking for? Alright, I found it. Spacesuit
Remember the
bombs.
cipher you went and got for me? With the help of that, the monument gate should be open for you. As for the other items, the structure must surely contain a few points which are quite vital to its integrity. I trust you know what to do once you come across them. Return to me when you're done so that we can enjoy the spectacle together.
Okay, so she wants us to bomb a peace summit. Now, someone want to comment on
Experimental
whether or
shuttle.
not this is a good idea? I accept that it is an idea. It is a thing that we could do. Well, we'll jump into the spacesuit and then see if anyone wants to chime in. Yep, there
That was
is.
unexpected. She does have a valid point, though. How realistic is this prospect of peace, really? Wouldn't there be much more to be gained by letting the war continue? I also am slightly worried about that command slot character. Or the Duke. Whatever that's supposed to mean. It's a bit of an oddball, that one. So very fatalistic, even for a Paranid. This whole situation might escalate out of control if we pull the carpet out from under his feet. If these peace talks were to continue indefinitely, at least we'd know what he'll be doing for a while.
Okay, so it looks like there might be a way in. There is. There's some careful spacesuit flying.
Bozo and I are having difficulties pinpointing your position in the maze.
Oh, a
We can't get a
maze.
visual on you either. All we know is that the cocoons are in a chamber, somewhere above the entrance you just came through. From here on, you're on your own.
Has the door closed behind me? This is an interesting question to me. Okay, no. Alright, so what I can do is I can drop a quick save and then see if we can successfully navigate this thing. Okay, so interesting chambers.
Apple.
I am picking up some unusually strong heat signals from your suit's sensors.
That must be the structural weak point Gride was on about. Keep going for now. That'll give you some more time to think about what you want to do.
Yeah, and I can always teleport out. Because I feel like we're about to encounter a decision point far sooner than I was originally planning. Okay, I don't think we can go through there. Give me a minute to navigate the maze, because the maze may in fact be mazy.
Tune into the negotiations. In case
All right,
you
I found switches.
Enlightened beings, these words are for you alone.
That's what he thinks.
We are gathered here on this momentous occasion to discuss a matter of the utmost gravity. Zatinmatkins, honored and ordained legate of Priest Emperor Zar. Your presence gleams like a ray of holy light in this abyss of discord. The false pontifex must have grown desperate to have sent his advisors right into the claws of his enemies. Priest Guardian Rick Menkasar? This was declared hallowed ground long before these unfortunate quarrels. And yet, the claim of our righteous and true pontifex remains unchallenged. Heresy! The wrath of Zar should tear you to pieces!
Ah, this is going well, isn't it? You have probably noticed the whole the issue here.
The blinding truth must, by now, have found its way into your inquisitive minds. The Paranid realms are beset on all sides by unholy creatures who know nothing but senseless destruction. There is truth in the tarnished prophet's words. United, we could crush the enemies of the Paranid. Nonsense! Our worst enemies stand right before us. You defile the teachings of Ashra with your flagrant disregard for the sacred geometry. Countless pretender realms have already been quashed, and the heretical order will suffer the same fate. To even suggest the coexistence of two pontifices is nothing short of heresy. Please, enlightened ones. There's no question that anyone would dare to propose a permanent schism. You have shunned your kind for far too long to be able to understand what any true believer would dare.
I don't need to comment on this. I'm just letting you listen, then I'll comment.
Grasping the entirety of our three-dimensional reality. Then how could you ever achieve that with only two eyes?
Oh yes, having 2 eyes is a fatal character flaw. What could a being with a mere 2 eyes ever contribute to any forum or conversation? And if you're wondering, hey, is Parun completely lost? The answer is not quite. I had a vague idea of where I was going.
Exactly. A reminder to all of you what we have given to one day see this realm unite. What you have given? Preposterous. It is a mark of shame. Bored of trying to take what belongs to the Pontifex alone. You simply lack conviction, but the exact packet. Our conviction is absolute. Then this realm will unite under the true embodiment of the holy three-dimensionality alone, one way or another.
Now, I need to get back to the main chamber, and the easiest way for me to do that may actually be to teleport back to my ship briefly and re-enter through the front door. But while I'm doing that, I might want to reassemble my fleet, reassemble my fleet and position it in the Xenon sector. So let's just zoom in for a moment. We are over here in Holy Vision. Let's just teleport over to the shuttle. Awesome. Jump back out on our spacesuit, and life would be a dream. But before we jump back out there, let's just order our Asgards into position, eh? And I know you're used to me commenting whenever interesting things happen on the way to do something else, but this is an interesting moment, by the way. This is the first time our shipyard has sold an Asgard-class battleship to the Terran Navy. We charged 38.6 million credits, which is probably not a huge amount, to give Intervention an Asgard, which does suggest to me that their shipyard capacity may be taxed. They've got lots and lots of goods. I mean, the amount of substrate they're buying is pretty small, so maybe they're taxed at capacity, or maybe they're just making a political statement by buying from us when they could be buying from themselves. But Forge Complex Mars is absolutely whirring along, selling between 50 and 75 million worth of ships per hour, plus we sell more from our southern shipyards, and it will soon be crossing the 50,000 workforce capacity mark. There was a point where my goal was to employ 50,000 in space total. There are going to be 50,000 just on Forge Complex Mars, about 150,000 employees, not counting crew on ships, spread across the network, growing pretty rapidly towards 200,000. We'll maybe hit 250,000 employees by the end of the playthrough. Not sure, but this is a very solid start. We're at about 125 to 150,000 now, which is not bad in terms of employee count. Okay, so we've walked back through the front door, and I can't go through because despite removing all of the physical barriers, there is still an energy barrier. Alright, guess I'm gonna have to go back in and look for one thing or two things more. But that's okay. Plenty of things happening in the background. Back in just a sec. Alright, I found the last switch. That should be the energy barrier down. So let's jump back
Forget
out.
what I said earlier about creating an imbalance for this side or that. This is our chance to end this war once and for all. If they want perfect geometry, they'll get it. All you need to do is go in there and nominate a few candidates for third Pontifex. Imagine that. And Bozo Ta would certainly jump at the opportunity to research how those cocoons are hatched.
You would drag these poor, defenseless souls into your plan to manipulate an entire people.
Think about it. This will lead to unprecedented scientific insight.
You are cruel and delusional.
Bozo, yes. Bozo is correct. Bozo is undoubtedly correct. Yeah, Dal's a Dal's an interesting character. So it sounds like what Dal is proposing to do is, since that the Paranid are in a complete impasse over which of their two existing... which of the two realms has the correct Pontifex, and since the Paranid also regard 3 as being sacred, special, etc., the correct response, he suggests, is to go into these pods which contain individuals who could be woken up if they are ever needed by society, find a third Pontifex candidate, wake it up as well, creating a third entrant, so to speak, which I suppose would create a sort of holy geometry from the Paranid perspective, and also potentially change the power balance quite significantly. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but let's keep going and see what's said. Alright, I've just gotten a new objective called Destroy Secure Clamps. This is me coming in through the front door again, by the way. And I'm assuming that the way I opened up with the clamps around it will be the one that gets me where I need to go. More tunnels. And I imagine these are leading us towards those cocoon chambers, where the potential VIPs are stored prior to being birthed, grown, woken up, etc. Yeah, that's definitely what this looks like. Alright, here we are. Okay, so I guess it's basically just down to us to pick a candidate. Any candidate. I'm guessing I don't get to read a CV on who it is I'm waking up. Well, we're not going to pick first on the left, closest to the door, too obvious. So, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I guess. You do. Alright. What do I shoot at? These are the clamps? Looks like.
Our potentacled friend wants to try out one of his new inventions.
Be advised that my tentacle-like appendages can cause significant trauma on impact.
Yeah, you get him, bozo.
Yes! It came through. Just grab all of them while you're there. We'll take care of the rest.
Oh, you want me to wake them all up? Okay. And then Bozo's literally teleporting them out. Are we kidnapping? Are we kidnapping potential religious leaders? Because I feel like that's what we're doing. I feel like we're kidnapping cocoons of potential leaders here.
That's the last of them. Strong rooms like this usually contain a fail-safe security mechanism.
Yeah, that's definitely Bozo teleporting them out. Usually contains strongbox mechanisms. So you're saying there's something in here that represents a trap. Well, my way of looking at things is lighting, and there's lighting over there. I'm not sure what that did, but it didn't look good. Alright, both those are now off. I'm going to assume what I've done is powered down the security system, but I'm sort of labouring in the dark at the moment. All I know is that Dal has convinced me to kidnap some people. And that's what has happened. How this relates to manipulating the politics, we will find out shortly. Although I imagine no one involved is going to be particularly chill about this. Alright, here we are back at the crossbows.
You could simply leave this place behind and allow Kramankenslat to follow his dream of Paranid unity. There's a lot of potential in backing a galactic superpower in the making. Or you could go with Bride's plan and blow this symbol of Paranid tradition to space dust. After all, this war has proven to be quite profitable for daring investors such as ourselves. This might also allow us to get to the bottom of this whole Duke business. Both options are tempting in their own way. Whatever you do, and whatever happens next, there will be great opportunities for both of us. When in doubt, have a look at your mission briefing.
Alright, so we're going to do that. We're going to have a look at our mission briefing, and then what I think I'm going to do, because it seems like leaving triggers this decision, and this is a decision I want to put to all of you for a vote in consideration and think about myself, is I'm going to roll back to a quick save from just a moment ago so we don't get to this choice, and then go close out the episode on another note, rather than making this decision right in the here and now. So let's go, wrong menu, let's go to the missions, mission manager, matter of the utmost gravity, open the briefing. Alright. Under the guidance of your mentors, you saved or rather abducted a number of cocooned Paranid High Priest candidates from the Monument Vault. My mentors? I'm not sure I'd describe Dal as a mentor. You abducted a number of cocooned Paranid High Priest candidates from the Monument Vault. According to Dal, you now have a decision to make. You can follow Greed's plan and sabotage the negotiations to exacerbate the Paranid Civil War. By further exploring the monument, exposing its energy cores, and rigging them with explosives. Alternatively, you have the option to leave immediately, and in return, face Greed's wrath. This could open up the possibility of a future peace deal and allow Dalbuster to keep working on his plans to install a third Pontifex. Dalbuster's diplomatic and economic predictions, which are probably not worth the paper they are written on, but let's read them anyway. Follow Greed's plan. Sabotage the negotiations will exacerbate the war between the God Realm of the Paranid and the Holy Order of the Pontifex. The military positions of both factions will be weakened, potentially allowing their enemies to advance. They have very few enemies. Because the main enemy of the hop beyond the other Paranid, the only enemies beyond the Paranid themselves at the moment are the Argon, who are getting their faces kicked in by the Terrans as part of the ongoing unification war, which is playing out very much in the Terrans' favour, and the Xenon, who we destroyed all the Xenon that sit on their border. So really they're only fighting each other. An increase in military losses and collateral damage will create economic opportunities for ambitious entrepreneurs willing to fill the gaps. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the effect on the rest of the network and humanity. Alternatively, we can support Kramankenslat. I'll get that eventually. Kramankenslat. Letting the negotiations continue will leave open the possibility of a future ceasefire or even a peace treaty. Reduced tensions between the two factions will allow them to focus their military attention elsewhere at first, and potentially lead to a decreased hostilities against other factions as well. Interconnection of the Paranid trade networks will increase economic stability, while the demand for military equipment will likely decrease over time. However, I would add a little caveat here. There's two options presented, but I'm concerned there's a third element we might be missing. So element one is basically status quo, just worse. The Paranid keep shooting at each other. Option two is the Paranid potentially unify. If the Paranid unify, the question then is are they going to lash out? Because we literally heard during the negotiation process them talking about how inferior all the other species are, and how if they just came together they could smash all of those who surrounded them. So I'm a little bit suspicious of what's going to happen if we let the Paranid join up, but at the same time, on one hand, we would be relatively certainly ending a certainly ending a damaging civil war. So that's the choice. I'll leave some voting options in the comments for people to add their thoughts, but also just throw a thumbs up on the option you prefer. Are we bombing the Peace Summit, or are we leaving the Peace Summit? With that said, I will end this clip. I will quickly roll back a save, so I don't have to make this choice right now. And instead we'll close out the episode doing something a bit different. Alright, so I brought some ships into the Yaki base. As you can see, they've taken on what little there was in the way of available crew. I thought this might be an interesting shot here as we evacuate our ships off the Yaki station for the last time. We'll fly them all over towards offline 4. So we are in an office on a station, and I can look through glass and be seeing into the hangar, from which I can watch ships launch. I love it. I love it. No 16,000 loading screens. Fantastic. Anyway, what we're going to do, let's transition over to the same ship we always lead these sort of initiatives from, the Max itself, because with the maximum number of possible people saved, hundreds of Yaki now in our employ, literally 0 people available to recruit on that Yaki station.
Ray.
We're going to take the
Pirate base.
Max in against the Yaki station, and then order all of the other Asgards to come in behind us. I'll drop a save, and then, as we fly past our lineup of other battleships, it's time to close out this chapter. The Yaki, after the whole, let's destroy Earth thing, it's time to transition away from piracy for the long term. These sectors will rise again, I'm sure, but not to support the Yaki pirates in their present form. I'll drop a save in case I ever just want to get the achievement for liberating these sectors and letting the Yaki take them over and start expanding as their own force. But given they will always be hostile to the Terrans, given they will always be pirates, and given the risks we saw, you just can't take those kind of risks with people who would say, let's destroy potentially more than 10 billion people across Earth and Mars for the safety of a station that we have now succeeded in completely depopulating, except for like 20 individuals. So,
Pirate base.
We'll hit the brakes, grab each of our Asgards, the Hammond, the O'Neill, the Jared, the Carter. We'll issue them attack orders, and as you can see, everything immediately gets lit up, and that's because we had laser towers set up to help defend this station from the Xenon. And what we'll do is we'll start popping the defense modules first,
We cannot tolerate your
because they're the
actions.
ones holding the plasmas. But yeah, they have lit it up. Yep, that got that defense platform. There's a lot of plasma. This station has a lot of defensive plasma, so if we get too close, we're in trouble. Luckily, for the moment, they seem pretty preoccupied destroying our laser towers. Similarly, the fighters and defense drones that get launched should also be in trouble from the laser towers. Also notably, the last Yaki I recruited off the station before we went hot is now managing the defense platform in this sector. So, interesting job if you can get it. Those look like defense platforms down there of a Paranid type, so they gotta go. Let's just wait for the gun to come back online. All the other Asgards will be here soon to add their firepower to the fray. But I just want to remove some of these plasmas first. Come on, give me the main gun back. Bingo, bingo. And I think that's probably a connection between them. There we are. Alright, so that outrigger is probably destroyed. Luckily they have lots of bolt turrets, which is giving me good visibility of where the fire is coming from. Including the fact that this platform over here isn't destroyed yet. There we are. When it stops shooting, we know we've neutralized it. There we go. So already you can see the amount of fire is definitely starting to slacken off a bit. It's definitely not zero, but slackening off. Let's pop this one next. There we go. Just dismembering the defenses. Grab some of these extreme sections. Just to simplify the hitbox, so to speak. That fire indicates the boron destroyers are basically here. Alright, that looks like another chain of explosions running up the spine. Probably the point now where I want to engage this section. There we go. Anything that has turrets on it, basically. But yeah, at this point it's gone from firing an enormous amount to considerably less. There are still defense platforms, it looks like, but nowhere near what there was at the start. This looks like the main section to port, and the hangar to starboard. We'll destroy the hangar because that's putting out defense drones. And I'm going to move into a little bit closer range so I can potentially engage some of the defensive structures on the other side of the station, rather than let them trip up the other Asgards. But as you can see, the rest of the Asgards are in and bashing. It's just they're not at knife fight range the way we are. Like, we're so close, I'm now flying flak. I'm firing flak at defense drones that are inside the hangar module. That looks like the hangar module exploding. Fantastic. Destroy some of these smaller segments.
Danger.
It is at 30% structure. And I think there's only one defense module or a small collection of defense modules left, and they're both on the far side of the station. So we'll get there by flying through here. But I should be disciplined enough to let the gun cool a little bit, just so we have an option available to us when we do get to the other side, and resist the urge to open up on every connection module as we fly through. Probably have to take it up a bit and fly through this section here. It's not exactly a fighter, no matter how we modify it.
Danger.
I am really terribly sorry about that.
That's okay.
It will not happen again.
We've got the tank. We can handle the situation. And we have repair drones for if things go wrong. There's our final defense module. Absolutely covered in turrets, but they are distracted by our laser towers. And there is now nothing there to be distracted. So we'll sail the Max through, spin it around.
Danger.
I have been stripped of the rank above among friends. You will no longer be treated as friendly at stations belonging to the Yaki. Well, look, I'm just going to suggest that maybe that's not my greatest concern at this point. I feel like maybe... Yeah, maybe the value of being able to dock at the Yaki station has been significantly mitigated. Asgard coming out of travel drive over there. Now it needs to turn around and point its main gun, please. Although there probably won't be anything left by the time it does, because I think we'll get the final blow. Okay, station is at 1% health. That means there is some small module left somewhere. Oh, another Asgard got it. And mission failed. A heart for pirates has been failed. Because so ends the Yaki. Anyway, with that accomplished, we'll grab our Asgards. Bash that last Xenon factory over there, which will be the last Xenon station in the sector. But with that, the Yaki are no longer a threat, and Savage Spur 1 has been formally claimed for Terra Invicta. There's about 20 minutes left until those defense platforms are finished, and then it'll be time to roll the fleet into the final part of Operation Offline, Savage Spur 2. And once it's cleared out, Fleet will be available for bigger and better things. Anyway, this might be a shorter one. I'm not sure in terms of the timing. I hope you enjoyed. But what we have basically gotten to is the decision point for the Paranid plot, and we need to decide, are we going to intensify the Paranid civil war, or are we going to encourage the Paranid to unify into a single super faction, ending the civil war, but potentially raising questions about the rest of the network? Other than that, we've constructed a bunch of additional, not here, we're helping the Terrans mass manufacture factories and now even solar power plants and other factories inside split space, increasing the steady incursion of the Terrans into some split sectors, the Talati into others. But you will notice there's not a huge amount, with the split civil war intensifying and fighting being continuous. Split power appears to very much now be on the wane. The Talati are taking advantage, the Terrans are positioning themselves, even at a time that they're fighting a war relatively successfully against the Argon. Antigone at this point controls, I believe, 0 sectors. Antigone has 1 sabotaged wharf left, which is not going to get them anywhere, which is probably why the Terrans aren't prioritizing it. Most of the fighting is happening over in these sectors closer to the Argon. But I think in terms of our core objectives, everything is rolling forward relatively successfully. Our fleet is being reinforced. We're going to have the rest of the Asgards, and just for a little bit of interest, given where we're going next, I have decided to construct 1 split Raptor, complete with 100 or so flak turrets, some Paranid plasma turrets. We'll give it a fighter complement. It's not particularly survivable, sure, but with some modifications, we might be able to use it as a bit of a proactive, fast-moving flak boat. And there are a couple of things I can imagine usefully doing with a ship mounting a casual 100 flak turrets. Hope you enjoy. Please vote on what you say we should do next for the Paranid, and I hope to see you all again soon.